Howdy everybody, Chris here. We're back in the garage today, and today we're talking about de-nibbing and polishing your project. Now this is a vehicle here. We painted the fender and the door, the bumper cover on both sides, but it got some dust and debris in it that we need to remove. If you look closely here, right here is a particle of dust. So I kind of want to share with you how I've been de-nibbing things lately, and it's been working out pretty good. But we want to wash this. So I've just got some spray away glass cleaner here. We're going to wipe it down, remove all the dust before we start sanding. So typically with a dirt nib like this, I would use this toll cut block with some 1200 grit on it. I like to use 2000 grit, but 1200 is all I have right now. So rather than use this 1200, I'm going to use a razor blade with some tape on each end of it. You can dull the corners by rubbing it on some concrete, dull those corners out, and then put some tape over it. And this is going to kind of lift it off the panel. And then you can actually shave down the piece of dirt. Sounds pretty aggressive. We use razor blades to remove runs, so I figured I'd try to de-nib some of this dust, and it seems to be working out pretty well. Now you can see dust particles pretty much totally gone. Now this leaves about a 2000 grit scratch, but what we're going to do is wet sand over this with 2000 grit 3M sandpaper, and then I'll share with you how we buff and polish this. I'll go ahead and de-nib this entire door, and then I'll share with you the next step. See how we sanded out that dust particle? Now we're going to go over this with 2000 grit wet dry paper. I use 3M. I'm just going to do it by hand. We'll smooth this out, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so now we got this sanded with the 2000 grit wet dry paper. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with this 3000 with our orbital sander. Now this is just a foam sponge pan. These run about 10 bucks. They're kind of expensive. But this is going to refine those 2000 grit scratches, make it a lot easier to buff. Okay, so I got this sanded with the 3000. Let's just wipe it clean. And then I'll run over it with 5000, and I'll show you the difference between, I'll do this with 5000 and we'll leave this at 3000. And then you can take a look at the difference between the two. 5000 is going to actually start to shine it up a little bit. So there's 3000. Both of these are done with 3000 right now. So we did the razor blade, we did 2000, now we're at 3000. Let's hit it with 5000. Again, I don't think I named the sandpaper, but this is called Trizac. It's made by 3M. Again, this is the 5000, so we're going to run over this spot with 5000, then we'll compare the two. When you're sanding the 2000 grit scratches with a piece of 3000 grit, you want to spend a little bit more time with that because it takes a little bit more time to work out those 2000 grit scratches. Let's take a look at the difference. Now, if you look here, See how it has kind of a shine to it. You can see a pretty clear reflection in this area. And then when you come over here, see how the reflection's quite a bit duller? A little bit more clear here. So this just makes it a little bit easier to buff if you want. Yeah, you can really see the difference here. So if you want it to be a little bit easier to buff, I would suggest running it over with 5,000. But you don't have to. You could buff out 3,000. It might just take a little bit longer. Let's just go over how to buff out these two areas and we'll see the results. So this is the buffer we use. This is an orbital buffer. So an orbital buffer spins one direction. Now, it's a little bit less forgiving than an orbital buffer. An orbital buffer is going to oscillate, so it's going to move in all different directions, and it's a lot more forgiving. It doesn't buff quite as quickly as the rotary. The rotary buffs pretty quick, but you can easily burn through with the rotary, so you got to be careful of all the edges. So I went ahead and buffed it with that. We used the CSI compound, and if you look here, this came out really, really nice. I may polish it up but just a little bit more. Let's go ahead and buff this. Now this is a 3,000 grit scratch. We'll work the compound in, just kind of, we're gonna have a slow speed. We don't need to go high speed on this, and just start buffing and work it in. And we'll go slow, different directions. You don't want to sit in one spot, and you don't want to buff any edges or body lines. You got to be careful of moldings, anything that's going to catch the buffer. So like if I'm going over in this edge, I'm going to tilt my buffer a little bit. You always want to buff away from anything. You want your buffer to buff away from any edges. Let's just take a look at this. So there we go. There it is, buffed and polished. So that's how I de-nib any paint jobs. If you're working at home, if you're a DIYer, you're gonna get some dust in your paint. It's unavoidable. So the best thing to do is just to learn how to correct it. It's not that difficult to correct. This is a good way to correct it. One great thing about clear coat is it's very easy to correct any imperfections in that clear. And this is a great way to do it. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did and want to help support the channel, the best way to do that is just to like this video, share it, and if you want to learn more about paint and body repair, subscribe to the channel and check out our other how-to videos. I appreciate each and every one of you watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Garage Noise.